As twilight draped its heavy veil over the forbidden city, the vermilion walls glowed faintly under the trembling light of lanterns. Within the imperial harem, where silence was a decree and survival a calculated art, a young concubine knelt in her chamber, clutching a silk shawl. Her breath was shallow, her heart echoing the distant rhythm of eunuchs' footsteps. In the Qing dynasty, the harem was no palace of dreams. It was a battlefield where every gesture was weighed, every glance a gamble, and every night a dance with destiny. Here, women were not merely consorts, but players in a relentless game of power, where love was forbidden and hope was a fragile ember. At the heart of the palace, the Jingxi Fang, a bureau of meticulous record keepers, governed the emperor's nightly visitations. Each concubine's name was etched onto a polished jade tablet, stacked in a lacquered box, presented to the emperor after his evening meal. The selection was no act of passion, but a ritual steeped in authority. A single tablet, chosen by the emperor's hand, determined which woman would face the night's uncertain fate. For a low-ranking concubine, newly arrived from a distant province, the call of her tablet was a rare event. Her days were spent in the shadow of higher consorts, her existence barely noted. Yet one evening, as lanterns cast long shadows across the courtyard, her name was summoned. The air grew thick with dread and possibility. To be chosen was both a blessing and a curse, a fleeting chance to rise or a step toward ruin. The summons unleashed a rigid ceremony. The concubine was led to a bathing chamber, where maids scrubbed her skin with jasmine-scented water and smoothed her hair with ivory combs. No trace of individuality was permitted, no jewelry, no personal sense beyond those prescribed. Stripped of her robes, she was wrapped in a plain silk blanket, her body reduced to a vessel of imperial will. The rules were unyielding. She could not walk upright. Instead, two eunuchs carried her to the emperor's chambers, her form cocooned, her dignity buried beneath layers of protocol. At the foot of the dragon-embroidered bed, she crawled, her movements deliberate, her eyes cast down. The emperor, a distant figure behind crimson curtains, was less a man than a symbol of heaven's mandate. Silence was absolute. A single sigh could be deemed defiance, punishable by demotion or exile to the cold palace, a forsaken corner of the harem, where women faded into oblivion, their names erased from the tablets. The eunuchs, ever-present shadows, held sway far beyond their bowed postures. They controlled the jade tablets, the schedules, and the harem's whispered secrets. One eunuch, with sharp eyes and sharper ambitions, watched the concubine's trembling hands. "Serve well," he hissed, "or this night will be your last." His words carried a veiled threat. Obedience ensured a chance at favor, resistance invited ruin. These gatekeepers of the harem were not mere servants, but wielders of influence, their loyalty often swayed by bribes or promises of power. The visitation was timed by a water clock, its steady drip marking the boundaries of intimacy. When the hour ended, the eunuch's voice cut through the silence. "Is it time, Your Majesty?" If no reply came, the call grew louder, a stark reminder of the harem's unyielding order. The concubine had no voice in her departure. She would crawl backward, rewrap herself in the silk, and be carried away, her presence erased from the chamber as if she had never been. After each visitation, a chilling question echoed through the chamber: shall it be preserved? This was no mere formality. It determined whether a child might be conceived, a potential heir to shift the harem's delicate balance. If the emperor shook his head, the eunuchs performed a cold ritual, pressing specific acupressure points on the concubine's abdomen to expel the imperial seed. For some, it was a clinical act, for others, a chance for cruelty. Whispers spoke of eunuchs who lingered too long, their hands asserting dominance over women who dared not protest. One concubine endured this, her body aching under deliberate pressure. She bit her lip to stifle a cry, knowing a single complaint could banish her to obscurity. Yet survival demanded cunning. She observed a eunuch's greed for rare herbs or silks from distant provinces. In exchange for a smuggled gift, he might overlook her tablet during her red days, sparing her the taboo of an ill-timed summons. Such bargains were a dangerous dance, for a misstep could cost her everything. Menstruation, a natural cycle, was a perilous secret in the harem. To be summoned during one's red days risked accusations of defiling the emperor, a crime that could lead to flogging, demotion, or even execution. Concubines devised subtle ways to signal their condition. Some wore a single coral bead woven into their hair, a quiet plea to the Jingxi Fang to bypass their tablet. Others bribed maids to whisper warnings to the eunuchs. In desperate times, a few resorted to phoenix substitution, sending a trusted maid, veiled by darkness, to take their place in the emperor's bed. Such acts were rare, for discovery meant death for both the concubine and her substitute. One concubine, sharp-witted but cautious, tied a crimson thread around her wrist, a signal known only to a loyal maid who relayed it to the tablet keepers. This small act of defiance preserved her safety, but each choice carried weight. To refuse a summons outright was to insult the emperor's divine authority. To comply at the wrong time courted disaster. Every signal, every bribe, was a calculated risk in a world where survival hung by a thread. Beyond the nightly rituals, the harem was a labyrinth of ranks, each level a rung on a precarious ladder. At the apex stood the empress, the only woman permitted to spend a full night in the emperor's chambers, her status unassailable yet burdened with scrutiny. Below her were the imperial consorts, noble ladies and consorts of the first and second tier. Shuo's favor granted them private pavilions and maids of their own. These women wielded influence, their beauty and wit sharpened into weapons to maintain their place. A favored consort, radiant and cunning, could sway the emperor's mood. Her tablet chosen night after night, while others languished in obscurity. Lower-ranking concubines, like the young woman summoned that night, lived in shared quarters, their lives governed by routine. They rose at dawn to practice calligraphy or embroidery, skills meant to catch the emperor's eye during rare audiences. Yet these tasks were also a reminder of their placements in a gilded cage, their talents displayed only to serve the palace's grandeur. Jealousy simmered among them, as each vied for a glance, a word, a chance to rise. A single misstep, a spilled teacup, a whispered complaint could lead to punishment. From confinement to flogging or demotion to a maid's status, the harem was a tapestry of alliances and betrayals, woven in whispers and glances. A favored consort might charm the emperor while sowing discord among her rivals, spreading rumors of disloyalty to secure her position. Yet even the lowliest concubine could find strength in unlikely bonds. One young woman, overlooked by the emperor, formed a quiet alliance with an older concubine, whose tablet was rarely chosen. The elder shared her wisdom, how to read the eunuch's moods, how to slip a message to the emperor through a trusted maid, how to endure humiliation with a serene smile. In return, the younger concubine offered stories of the world beyond the palisadoes of rivers and festivals, a fleeting gift of warmth in a life of isolation. Together, they navigated the harem's dangers, meeting in the moonlit gardens to exchange plans. Yet trust was fragile. A single misstep, a rumor overheard, a bribe exposed could turn allies into enemies. The harem rewarded cunning, and even the closest confidant might betray for a chance at favor. Favor was the harem's currency, a fleeting prize that could elevate a concubine to consort or doom her to obscurity. A single night could change her fate, her child a potential heir to the throne. The Jingxi Fang's ledger recorded every visitation, the date, the hour, the concubine's health. A pregnancy, if approved, was a ticket to power, elevating a woman to noble lady or consort overnight. If unapproved, it was a death sentence, the child deemed a threat to the imperial bloodline. Some concubines, desperate to conceive, hid traces of the imperial seed, defying the eunuch's rituals. Others played the long game, trading gifts for future chances. One evening, a concubine overheard a eunuch plotting to favor a rival by manipulating the tablet box. Seizing her moment, she slipped a rare gifted jade hairpin or a vial of precious oil to a rival eunuch, who ensured her tablet surfaced the next night. The emperor, struck by her quiet grace, called for her again. For a moment, she glimpsed hope, a chance to rise, to escape the harem's shadows. Yet each favor came at a cost. The more she was chosen, the more she drew the envy of others, their whispers sharpening into daggers. The harem's rules were strictest within the Forbidden City, but rare moments of reprieve came when the emperor traveled to the Summer Palace or Changed Mountain Resort to escape the capital's heat. During these journeys, the rituals loosened. No jade tablets were presented, no water clocks ticked. The emperor might summon a concubine on a whim, their encounters less formal, almost human. In the gardens of the summer palace, under willow trees by shimmering lakes, a concubine could walk upright, her laughter unguarded for a fleeting hour. These moments were rare, lasting mere weeks each year, yet they were a lifeline, a glimpse of a world where a woman might breathe freely. One concubine, during such a visit, caught the emperor's eye while arranging flowers in a courtyard. Her tablet was chosen thrice that month, a rare streak that sparked both hope and fear. Back in the Forbidden City, the rules snapped back into place, and her brief taste of freedom became a distant memory. Survival in the harem demanded more than beauty. It required a sharp mind and a guarded heart. Concubines learned to read the palace's rhythms, the empress's moods, the eunuch's alliances, the emperor's fleeting preferences. Some turned to subtle rebellion, like the concubine who memorized the Jingxi Fang's schedules to predict her summons, or another who cultivated a garden of medicinal herbs to barter with maids. Others embraced silence, their compliance a shield against punishment. Yet the harem was no place for love, only for strategy. A concubine learned to mask her heart, to smile through pain, to bow before power. Each visitation was a performance, each moment a calculation. To be chosen was to walk a knife's edge, glory on one side, humiliation on the other. The Vermilion Walls, majestic by day, were a cage by night, trapping women in a game they could not win. As one concubine lay in her chamber, the lantern's flicker mirrored her fragile hope. She was no longer the naive girl who entered the palace, her dreams of love replaced by lessons in survival. The harem had taught her to scheme, to endure, to calculate every word and gesture. In her dreams, she saw a world beyond the palace, a place where she could walk freely, speak boldly, and love without fear. For now, she clutched her shawl, waiting for the next tablet to bear her name, knowing each summons was a step toward either salvation or ruin. In the Qing dynasty's imperial harem, every woman was a player in a silent war, where the stakes were life, legacy, and a fleeting chance at power. Their stories, etched not in jade but in whispers, linger in the shadows of the Forbidden City, a testament to their resilience in a world that sought to break them. To live in the harem was not to thrive but to endure. Each day a delicate balance between hope and despair. Each night a gamble for a future that might never come.